G'day, Tom.
How you going?
I'm going well. It's another week, another potty. We had Judd McVie on last week. We've got Jeff White, the champion ruckman, 237 games, 95 goals in the red and blue. He joins us on the unofficial podcast of the Melbourne Demons, the DeeBrief. That was a tongue twister. Whitey, welcome.
I'm on. I finally got a gig.
You
Good
did?
to be on, boys.
Yeah,
It's
mate.
good to have you on.
Great to have you on. Great to have you on. And, mate, we're going to get straight into it. Now, I don't think I've received as many messages as I have in the last 3 or 4 hours at the time of recording to the DeeBrief Instagram account when it comes to previewing a former champion of the club. Because, Whitey, we've got to speak about it. There's an elephant in the room. Your son, Kalani, is going to be an absolute superstar, and I know he's not too far off being drafted, but there is a bit of a predicament, and a lot of Melbourne supporters have asked where his allegiances lie. But let's get the full picture and take a step back. How is he tracking your young son?
Good to start with the intro of that. He's going really well. He's working with the Suns Academy at the moment. He's been with them for the last 12, 18 months. Started as a 16-year-old and working through the program there, which has been really good for him. And I think what we try to establish is for him to try and play against your under-18s competition. And to get that exposure, I initially thought we need to board in Melbourne, go down that path. And we had a look at that. But the Suns came knocking and said, oh, look, this is the program we've got set up. Not necessarily under 16s. The under 18 program gets to play against the Victorian boys. So that was a real opportunity for us as a family to obviously keep him here on the Gold Coast, but then have him play against the best kids in Australia. We wanted to sort of, test him out. He wanted to test himself out as well. So that's where that came about. And so there was no expectations on him last year. He was a bit sort of raw with his playing with Gold Coast Suns. He was playing down back, he was playing in the ruck, he was playing forward, then we went down back. And then he played his first game against Sydney Swans and dominated. I was like, oh, where's this come from? And then, so that was a practice match. And then the first game was against Tasmania. And like anything, when everyone comes to visit us on the Gold Coast, hasn't rained for 3 months, it rains. And
Perfect conditions for a big, tall, lanky guy.
Yeah, he's 200 centimetres now, but playing in the back. And it was the first game of the carnival. All the agents there, recruiting officers, and pouring rain, and just dominated. And so it sort of ignited a bit of interest. Obviously, no one had really seen him besides local league. And I had Gold Coast Suns recruiting officers. I had Melbourne, obviously. And then he played Sydney at. This is the quite a funny part. So I had Jace Taylor come and watch him at Sydney.
Yeah.
And he played in the back line, played on their best player, kept him to one possession. And then they swung him forward for the second half, and he took a massive mark on the forward line. Jay said, I've seen enough. I'll see you later.
And that was it. He was out.
He was out, yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was really good. So I guess it's similar to me. He's inconsistent, trying to find himself, but the thing I've always seen about Kalani is that he's below his knees. He's just a freak. He's very clean for his height, and he showcased that against Tasmania when it was pouring rain. The recruiters were saying, "Oh my God, like I've never seen someone so agile and so clean below his knees." He kicks the ball really well. Jumps higher than me, taller than me, so he has all the attributes there. So it's really exciting as a family, and the thing we are focusing on right now in the next 12 months is just stay healthy, enjoy his footy. He played down forward on the weekend, which is just a bit of a trial thing. But then he just texted me before saying the coach is going to swing him down back. So they sort of use him in every different position, which is always the way. When I played Stingrays in my last year, I played in the wing. So you throw him around, it's really good. So really exciting for our family, and really exciting that he's, even like last weekend, it was his birthday on Sunday, and he got the opportunity to spend it with the Dees, and was even in that meeting when they announced Caleb Windsor as the rising star. So, and Kalani didn't even tell me until later on. So he's pretty good at keeping secrets, even from his dad. So he was pretty pumped to be involved in that. And, Melbourne's been great to him, and all the players have been great to him. So it's been really, really fun moment for him, and of course for our family to see him happy and healthy and playing the sport he loves.
Oh, it's great to hear, mate, and happier to hear that he likes the surroundings of red and blue. It's interesting you mentioned about the academy up there. It was a talking point recently. I heard Tony Cochrane talk about it, how the northern states have really put in really well-established academies, and they're churning players out. I mean, your Jed Walters of the world, and obviously Sydney, you've got your Heaney's and your Parkers and all these players that are just coming out, Tom Green in Canberra. And he made a point that places like Victoria and South Australia and WA are lacking, and what they're relying on is the private school system, really, as being these somewhat footy factories. But if you're unfortunate and you don't have the privilege to go there or get picked up in a scholarship, a lot of these young footballers, it's a harder avenue for them to go through. So it kind of sounds like it was probably the right choice for him to remain up there to learn his craft. But he's simply going to play for Melbourne. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to allow him to stay in the Gold Coast, because you know what? They took Mac Andrew off us when we should have had Mac Andrew. So,
his brother. Actually, Kalani played on his brother last week. So they played there was a father-son they played a couple of years ago. And Kine and Brown played in that as well. And Mac Andrew's younger brother played in that. But the thing that the southern states have been in awe of, and it makes a lot of sense. The under-18s program, and you go from a private school sector as well, they're not attached to any AFL sides.
Yep.
But Gold Coast, Brisbane, Sydney, GWS, they are.
Yep.
So they wear the colours.
And there's some people that have been with them for, say, 6 or 7 years and developing, and the expectations of training and lifestyle are instilled in them, so that when they do come to the age of 17, 18, they're ready. They know what to expect.
Well, I've got my twin boys, Taj and Kai, who are 13. They're not involved in the Suns Academy. That was purely a choice for my decision, just because they're starting at a new club this year, just focus on that. But their mates are in the under-13s academy. So that's how early they start.
Well, Tony Cochrane made a point, and I don't want to cut you off here, but just quickly, that there was a draft recently where there was more people drafted out of Queensland than South Australia. And you go, well, South Australia is a famous, established football state, yet we're getting more crop from Queensland. That's a great thing for the growth of the game. But I think that relates back to the systems that are in place that are kind of, around the training and the programs and the academies that are established up there, which is, as I said, that's a great thing for the growth of the game and those states. But I think now, WA and South Australia and Victoria are falling behind in some areas.
Well, they are. And after the under-16s carnival last year, this guy called John Dees, he runs the under-16 Suns Academy here, who's Kalani's coach. And he's seen the Jed Walters, he's seen the Ethan Reeds, he's seen the Jack Rogers and the likes come through. And people he's originally from Perth, involved in the Peel Thunder program, come over here, and he's done a sensational job. After that carnival last year, he had people ringing from Adelaide, Victoria, Perth, just going, what are you guys doing? This is great. And it all comes back to, when you look at the crop of so this just explains how strong, they call it 07 so born in '07, which is next year draft. So DT, he's seen the Reeds, seen the Jed Walters. The max they had in the All-Australian under-16s was 2. Last year's crop, they had 5. So you think last year was strong?
Yeah.
You wait till next year.
Really?
I kid you not. I've seen these kids grow up with Kalani, and they're unreal.
So,
They're,
and obviously we know what Gold Coast had to do to get points and trades. Are they in a position to just get another haul of all of those players? Do they have first choice again?
they understand what's coming through. They know
For sure.
And
Do they have the means to get all those players, though, I guess is what I'm asking.
I think they will. I don't know. I think they'll struggle. They did really well last year.
Oh, yeah.
Big
But
time.
Crazy draft hand to get.
If the rules are altered in some way, it looks like it's going that way, then they will struggle. But there's some good kids coming through, and their kids are, like Zeke Ewland. We've seen him. He's played against Kalani the whole time. He's Bodie Ewland's younger brother.
Yep.
And so last week he had 26 and kicked 6 from the wing.
That's Gary Ablett Senior stats.
Oh, and 2 of those goals were on his non-preferred foot.
Yeah, wow.
It's freaky.
Okay.
And they've got there's a kid that I've always admired, always liked, Dylan Patterson, his name is. He's played rugby, but he runs 100 in so fast. He's quick, breaks the lines. So they've got all these crops of kids coming through, but I think it's off the back. I've always said this. It's off the back of, you think about Brisbane Lions, 01, 02, 03, 04, they made the grand final. So then the AFL invested all this money into Auskick and Gold Coast wasn't even on the radar back then. So the investment into schools really brought that out. So you think about kids that were born in 07, parents, getting them into the Auskick program. So full credit to the AFL, and now you're seeing the fruits of their investments back then.
So Whitey, before we talk about your ruck coaching business and everything you're doing in that world, it's going to be a tough decision for Kalani and the family. There's no doubt about it. He's grown up there on the Goldie. No doubt he's got many friends and strong friendships that he's formed over his life to date. It sounds like Melbourne have done a marvellous job. I was privy to a few things that you told me the other day on the phone about how amazing Melbourne had been at just trying to integrate him into the program, to give him a sense of what the Melbourne culture is all about. But It's going to be a tough decision, isn't it, at the end of the day?
I think he's in such a beautiful position. He has the opportunity, he has the choice. So, and he's not taking that for granted. He's working extremely hard and doing all the things that, ticking the boxes, doing all the extra stuff. So, he just passionate about his footy, loves getting better and involved in all that sort of stuff. So, I try to guide him along the lines of that. There's no pressure from me. As I keep saying to people, I've lived my dream. I just sort of, help him along the way and teach him and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think it's after April next year, has an opportunity to make a decision. That's when we can, I think, from what I've heard from his agent, we can receive contracts. But we'll make our decision. I think his big chance to play Allies this year, which is really exciting. Just get a taste of it. But after the program next year, he might get an opportunity to play with Casey. He might get an opportunity to play with the Suns reserves. And then we'll get a feel for it. He's in a really, obviously, unique position that he can make a choice. But what comes with that too is that if you're a father-son, you can train in your draft year. So that starts after the draft this year. He has 4 weeks he can train with Melbourne, which is great. But because he's in the academy, he can train 4 weeks with the Gold Coast Suns. So effectively, it's 2 months of doing pre-season. So he'll most likely train with Dees before Christmas, probably 2 or 3 weeks, and then he'll do 2 weeks the start of the season with the Suns, and that'll give him a really good idea of where he feels about both clubs. So that's the exciting part from his point of view. He gets to actually get a taste of it. You know, most kids that are going to the draft have no idea. They talk to these clubs, and then it's all you're chucked in the deep end. So we're really fortunate about that. We don't take that for granted. We don't take that lightly. But, you know, on what you were saying, Adrian, in relation to Melbourne, they've been super. You know, from the recruiting officers, you know, even Goody, he was there last year when we beat Brisbane at the MCG by Melsham kicked that goal at the end. And he'd just been selected for All-Australian. So Goody came up to him, Max Gorn came up to him. He remembers all that sort of stuff, you know. He loves it. And he's been a Melbourne supporter since he was born.
That's awesome. And then obviously, you know, if he's going to be training with them just before Christmas, he'll be training with a couple of 2-time premiership players. I'd imagine by then May can mentor him because, you know, May is in the back end of his career and he can coach him into that position. He can take over. I look forward to that.
The other thing as well, Jeff, like you cannot knock back Gorney. Like if Gorney says, I want you down here, Kalani, you got to stay true to your word. If Big Maxie wants you.
Well, there's certainly a lot of push and a lot of pull, but in a good way.
No, of course.
But I think he, you know, even the end of last year, which is quite funny, Petrarca was texting him while he was away, and anyway, so Kalani's like, oh my God, you know, Christian's texting me. What do I say? And I remember sitting in his room trying to critique what the reply would be because he was quite.
Hey, I just had some really nice pasta. You would love it.
Yeah, and actually, I have a big shout out to Christian on this because I really struggled to get him up for school. A lot of kids, obviously, I think some are really good. Kalani's very poor in that area. And then one morning I've gone in to wake him up and he's up. And it's because of the text message from Christian. So I'm like, thanks, Christian. Got him up. Did the dad work for me. So he texted him. And anyway, so they were sort of chatty. And then we went up to watch the golf. And we stopped to get something to eat. And Kalani thought, I'll just text Christian because I'm going down there next weekend. And Christian was 50 metres away from us. So he got to walk the last few holes with Christian and really loved it. So he loves all that sort of stuff, which is really funny.
I reckon the boys are putting in the 1%ers.
Oh, 100%, and as they should. As they should.
It's already happening.
Yeah, it's a healthy club.
But what I want to stress with that is that, it's great for Kalani, but the level of professionalism with the club is really outstanding. And I really want to commend the club on, you know, just the touch points with the club, with us as a family. So it's been really, really nice.
Well, that's a nice little segue. We can go back to your time then, Jeff, and, you know, what are the massive changes to, I guess, that you see in terms of how a club is structured?
The junction change rooms is the first thing.
Well, I've got to say the facilities.
The ruck circle. The ruck circle.
I remember we couldn't use our gym, or those rats going through the gym at Junction Oval. It was terrible. And so Neil decided to get it in a big portal, you know, those massive rooms where you can have a meeting and stuff.
Yeah, like a portable school, like a portable classroom as well.
Classroom, yeah.
Yeah.
But they were the Junction days. We got on with it and did what we had to. But I think, facilities, of course, professional. You know, and not to say it wasn't professional back then, but, you know, just the level of, the training and everything's just changed so much. And it's really good to see. And I've really, you know, I follow quite closely on social media, so I just really love the content they put out. Whether it's a win or loss, you know, the consistency of the messages they give out and the way they've been able to, like that little kid they had just recently.
Yeah.
Love that.
Oh,
Great
yeah,
segment.
that little fellow, yeah.
Yeah.
It was good fun.
So they're just attention to detail, and, you know, and I've spoken to people in the back end. So I've spoken to Purdy a few times. I've spoken to the marketing people, and, and when they've been up here as well, when they've played the Gold Coast Suns, just the attention to detail and looking after their members all across Australia. It's really in a beautiful spot, and obviously they're the back end's really, really solid and professional, so it's allowing the players just to do what they need to do.
Yeah, it's translating into what has been an incredible start to the season so far. There were so many naysayers in the off-season. Where are they now? We're 6-2 with a big opportunity. Let's talk about FirstUse, because I know you've got to go at some point and actually do what you love doing. And what you love doing at the moment, Jeff, is you love teaching people about ruck craft. So FirstUse is the first of its kind, I believe. There's so many midfield programs. There's so many other training programs around Australian rules football. But I'd never heard of a ruck coaching program until probably 4 or 5 months ago. And who was it that popped up on my Twitter timeline? Jeff White. So take it away. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's great. I've really enjoyed helping athletes, male and female, across Australia. And I think the passion was always there. I just needed to find out how I could actually bring it to a online scale, I guess. And so the passion for it really started to unite last year in March, where I started getting a lot of questions. I do an ABC grandstand for the Gold Coast and Brisbane games, and I've been doing that for over a decade now. And this was the first time they started asking about the ruck craft, the centre bounce setups, the ball ups. And it was on the fly. I had to really just, give them the full description. And in that sense, you got listening audience. So you got to try and create the picture about how it's operating and how it's actually unfolding. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. And then they had the ruck round, of course, last year.
Oh, of course.
So there was a number of signs that were coming through. I had some people that were reaching out. Do you do online ruck? Do you do one-on-one sort of stuff? And soon realised there was nothing there for rucks coming through. So put the head down, started drawing some plans, and now you download playbooks online. You can download whether it's a centre bounce, whether it's a ball up, whether it's training aids, all this sort of stuff. And then we do have connection. My dog's trying to get into the pantry.
We can hear the pitter patter.
Fine.
It's very distracting. Billy. He got into the Whippix today.
Oh, got into the Whippix. Oh, that's a good thing.
Ate half of.
How many can he do?
Oh, he did a few. He did a few this morning.
What type of breed, Whitey? What are we talking?
A bull doodle. Oh. You would have seen him maybe on social media, but
yeah, probably.
He's a beautiful dog, but he's been naughty at the moment.
Come down, Bill.
Silly Billy. So
Silly Billy.
With your audience, Jeff, is that targeted towards younger people, younger men and women who are playing the game, or is that targeted towards maybe coaches who maybe don't have the resources or the skill set to use it, or is it kind of for everyone?
It's for everyone.
Okay.
So and that's the main point of difference is that, I'm coaching one-on-one monthly. I've got a 12-year-old and I've got a 26-year-old. I'm looking after coaches. I'm looking after teams. Mm-hmm. So I have an app that I have, so I can have direct access to the athletes and the coaches. So I look after Norwood Footy Club, look after Perth Footy Club,
nice.
Look after Geelong Grammar, look after Gold Coast Suns women's side. Tonight got Broadbeach Cats. So look after females and males and run through set plays, help obviously the rucks, but also the synergy with the midfielders. And currently in talks with the AFL. So it's really providing, grassroots footy, I guess, as you call it, an opportunity to have a ruck on a monthly basis, but also as coaches, you think about 99% of all the coaches across the land didn't play in the ruck. So I've had so many coaches reach out and say, hey, how do I train this up-and-coming ruck? How do I coach him or her? So I provide those resources.
That's great.
So Jade Rawlings, who was assistant coach at Melbourne for a while, he's the head coach of Norwood. So we're in constant dialogue. I have an app that he's attached to. You might have seen it on social media, but I can do a set play. I can draw on it. I can hear my voice. I can slow-mo. So that's the information I provide the athletes.
Okay.
They're able to look at it. I'm connected. Most of the clubs, or all the clubs I'm with, connect with Huddle. So Monday and Tuesdays, I can go through either centre bounces, ball ups, or I can go through the play individually. I video that, put it into the app, and then I give them feedback. So it's really good. So I don't have to be there one-on-one.
Yeah, well, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of that there are places who are more privileged than others in terms of having academies and that sort of thing. But if you're a more remote community who doesn't have that kind of access, then this is a great way to kind of utilize these skills that they may not have available to them. With also, I mean, have you thought about collabing with different kinds of, because there's so many different types of ruckman as well. I mean, you only got to look at Fremantle, and there's a perfect case there with Darcy and Jackson, like two completely different bodies and body types. Yep. And I mean, I'm just throwing out some ideas here, Jeff, for you, that you do little tutorials from different ruckmen and types of ruckmen, or that kind of avenue kind of thing. That's a really interesting space.
Yeah, well, that's what it's started from, and it can evolve to anything, really. And well, I have spoken about this. It's obviously something that I'm very interested in. Imagine having set plays from Nick Natanui, some ideas, some training routines from Max Gorn.
True.
Basketball training to get your feet right from Luke Jackson. So there's a whole different space you could go to. But essentially the core of the business is to provide the ruck/midfield opportunity to learn and have that available on a monthly basis without trying to have someone, or going out to employ someone or have someone at the club. A lot of most games are videoed these days, even at really local level videos. People want that. They want to share it on social media. They want to share how they play. So that's all available for me to analyse and have a look. One in particular, I had a kid I work with that over in South Australia, and little things, he was starting in centre bounce with his feet together instead of one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
So we made that change, and then within 3 weeks, his hit ratio was huge out of the centre bounce. So just identifying those little things to provide these kids an opportunity.
Jeff, if people are interested in getting in touch for maybe their own local footy club, how do they do that? How would you like them to hit you up?
Well, there's a couple of options. So firstuse.com.au. So the First Use gets used a lot, so that's where the name came from.
Yeah.
I use it on radio quite a bit, and I thought that's where it's. So it's and you can have a subscription each month. So whether that's an individual sort of thing, or like what Norwood, Perth, and Geelong Grammar and the other footy clubs to look after. It's a monthly service, so you have unlimited access. And the beauty about that too is I actually review the opposition ruck. So this week I'll be doing the opposition tomorrow night for the Gold Coast Suns women side are playing Sydney. So I got to review their rucks. So it gives them, the girls, an opportunity to just have a bit of education and my sort of input into how they tackle their opponent. So I do that for all the players and all the athletes. Beautiful.
Now, how long have you got? Do you have to head off soon to Broadbeach?
I've probably got about 15 minutes.
15 minutes. All right. Well, we might take 10 of those 15 minutes and talk about... Should we talk about Max?
Yeah, I want to talk about Max, and I just want to get your opinion on... he has to be in the conversation of one of the greatest ruckmans of all time.
He's not. He is.
Yeah. Oh,
you think he's the greatest?
I think...
Love that.
Yeah, he's up there. I think it's an article with The Age last week. think it was last week, about this. It's hard. It's like
It's obviously the cross-generational thing is a difficult
Correct.
conversation, but it's fun to have regardless. I mean,
it's a great topic to have.
yeah, you have to tip your hat to your Polly Farmers, your Simon Maddens.
100%.
You can say Sean Wren. You can throw in obviously
Your knowledge is crazy.
Dean Cox, and then
it's-
your
it's-
Jeff
it's-
Whites. I'm gonna.
Oh, you're Jeff White.
It is different.
play.
It's like going, obviously the conversation. I love NBA. It's Michael Jordan and LeBron. It's two totally different players.
Yeah.
But it's always there as a debate. Look, I just think that all round as a ruck is elite. I think when he first came on the scene, and I mentioned this last week, one of the things I really wanted him to really evolve and get better at was his contested marking. He was always down the line. He was too busy trying to look for the body. And I was guilty of that as well, because you got to think that you're always wrestling with someone with boundary throw-ins and ball-ups, and then all of a sudden you get a high ball, you look for the body again. It's almost like over the pre-season he went, you know what, I'm 6'9", I'm just going to go for my marks. And I remember just saying to myself that, oh my God, he's just evolved that. The impressive part that I've noticed this year, his ability to different hit zones in the middle. And that's just a show of leadership, but ability to use, okay, I'm going to hit it that side because Jack Viney's left footer, he'll go that way, and I'll hit it to my right because Cossie's going to go out that way. We'll leave Clayton Oliver as a blocker. He's solid and uses his body really well, but then we can also pull him back as a receiver. So, yeah, I just think he's just consistency-wise too. You think about the consistency of that. You think about the actual position of being a ruck, jumping into someone. How many centre bounces are there during the game?
Yeah.
And you're doing that, and you're 6-time All-Australian. It's crazy. Dean Cox was hard to play on. He was tall, he could jump, but he's super athletic.
Did you feel like Cox? I mean, I remember Cox being an unbelievable, on the ground, and he was good in front of goal. But do you feel like he had the ability to mark the ball as well as
Max?
Max?
The difference.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest difference.
Yeah, his marking is
Max takes the marks.
Yeah,
and they're game changing.
Yeah, down the line, like they're so important. Like just to have that out kick or that saving in defence, like it's crazy how important it is.
So you look at Cox, and Hall of Famer, a wonderful player, but he would have 2 or 3 marks a game, and that would be uncontested because it would be a switch of play. He wouldn't take the contested marks. That's where Maxi Gorn's the difference.
Yeah.
And then you can't, like Jimmy Steins, wonderful player obviously, but he was really good at spread. He would get 30 possessions every week, but it wasn't the big marks. It was the ability to spread, and he was really good at, he's jumping in the centre bounces and his body around the ground. But what stands Max apart is just that ability to mark. He's got everything else covered. Uses the ball really well, taps it really well, kicks it really well. So that's what makes him elite.
What's crazy as well is if you look at the All-Australian Guernseys that he's got to date, he gets his first in 2016. 2017, he gets an unfortunate injury, I believe, against Geelong early in that season, like a round 3 or round 4. Basically puts him out of the equation just purely because he got that injury. The All-Australian selectors saying he probably hasn't played enough games to justify a position. Then he's fit in 18, 19, 20 and 21, and he gets All-Australian Guernseys. He gets an All-Australian Guernsey in 22 as well, but then last year the same thing happened.
We recruited someone.
The same thing happened.
Got injured in the Brisbane game.
He got injured in the Brisbane game. So the ridiculous thing that you could say...
That goes back to Jeff saying how consistent.
Exactly. And just to illustrate that point further, if he doesn't get injured early in 17, he doesn't get injured early in 23...
He could be going for 9.
Well, he could be going for 9 in a row. Like, it's absolutely wild what Max Gawn is doing before our own very eyes. And I said it on our review show just a couple of days ago because the AFL fixture is cooked. It feels like I only did the review show like yesterday. But a life after Max Gawn, and when he goes around the boundary line or when he has his final song game, like, I don't think there'll be more men at the MCG bawling their eyes out than the day that Max Gawn departs a footy club. In that respect, from a playing perspective, it is going to be gut-wrenching, but beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, well, and how many games has he played? I think he was injured a fair bit.
211.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah,
in his career, he was injured quite a bit. You know, trying to get his body right.
Had a couple of ACLs, which aren't, that's a year gone.
That's a year, exactly. But going on last year, the back half of last year, he was All-Australian form. So it wasn't too far away.
Yeah.
He could have definitely got the nod last year. So, but the consistency for me, and just the way he's been able to adapt. This is an area I've got to improve. I'm going to improve my marking. I've got to improve my kicking at goals. I've got to improve my hit zones. I've got to improve my set plays. And he's just done that, And it's crazy to think when you actually highlight it like that, in the time that, it could have been 9 in a row, 8 in a row, whatever it is. But like I said before, you're jumping into someone every single week, and there's a lot of knocks and a lot of bruises that come with that, trust me. But he's doing it week in, week out, consistently doing it, and then his work rate around the ground. I said in the article last week that if you ever get to go to a game and watch Max Gawn, watch his ability to run from the spread from stop play to another stop play, or it's incredible how hard he works. And I remember Jim Steins always used to say to me, work hard away from the stop play and rest when you get in the right position. And that's exactly what Gawny does.
It begs the question then, and I love retaining this ruck theme, Kalani into his coaching program, into Max Gawn. It begs the question, and we've got to put it on Whitey. Who are your top 5 rucks in the league at the moment? So Max is a level above everyone. That's pretty bloody obvious. Who else would you put in that list at the moment?
No, am I adding Gawny into the top 5 or?
Oh yeah, no.
No, we'll just put him at 1, and then we'll go 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Well, in no particular order.
Okay.
These are the rucks that I really like.
Yep.
Sherry from North Melbourne.
Yep.
Nice.
Briggs.
Yes.
GWS.
Yeah.
Luke Jackson.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we miss him.
Of course.
We miss him, but yeah, the stuff he's done. And I'm probably going to have to go...
Wits?
I like Wits.
He's not putting him in. Rowan Marshall, come on. No?
Yeah, that's the one I was going.
Okay.
Rowan Marshall.
Okay.
Witsy and him very close. I like Witsy because his hit zones and the variety of hits he has in the centre bounce is, I think, better than Max at the moment.
But Marshall can get you on the scoreboard and can kind
Marshall
around
runs
the
really,
ground.
really hard.
Yeah.
He's really, really powerful with his ability to spread, and his clearance rate's really high. But I really love Sherry and Briggs, and the reason why I say that is because they change angles at centre bounce. You've got to be really adaptive. You've got to be unpredictable for your opponents, and then when it hits the ground, the second and third efforts are unreal. The ability to not only win the ball but also tackle.
No Brody.
No. Look,
Only at the SCG.
Yeah. He's having a great year.
Yeah, he is.
He is having a great year.
At the SCG.
And he's getting a lot of his possessions, though, are grabs out of the air and kicks it.
Yeah.
So They're not. The AFL's not short of rucks at the moment. Each side is, and I think it's become extremely important now because of the 666. That rule they brought in has been great. So, and I've noticed at Kalani's level, what they're doing now is that if there's a stop play inside your forward line, this might come through. They're obviously trialling it, but if there's a stop play in your forward line, you have to have the forward for the opposition has to be in their forward 50, and then the other forwards have to be behind the halfway line, the centre.
Yep.
So it's a way to stop the congestion. So there's often a lot of the trials they do through the under-18s is something that they get stats from to see if they implement for the AFL.
Now, I know you've got to go in a second. We're going to break the ruck theme and ask a question that got sent in by a few of the DeeBrief punters. And it's, who were your favourite teammates that you played with? So maybe we can do a top 5 in no particular order for that, Jeff.
Jeez, and then you put me on the spot about
I know
players that listen to this podcast.
Yeah, they're going to be offended. They're going to be
text messages.
So come on.
Well, you know what? The ones that I hung around with were my golf buddies.
Okay.
So Ooze,
Oof.
Wowie,
Yep.
and the boys I hung out in the centre bounce with. Nita, of course. Nita's my number one.
Hey.
Love to hear it.
He was a shit golfer, and he was tested that. But he was. I lived with him for a while. I could go through the whole list. Wiz, Jono. I'll just,
There's 5. There's 5.
Geez, Robbo's going to be hurt. You haven't said him yet.
No, Robbo's. That's why I said it was not top 5, but
do a top 50.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There's not a top 5.
Yeah. Well said.
I still speak to Powley, Riggers.
Yeah.
Still speak to Flash. Still speak to the boys.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's a good vintage. That's a great vintage. Like when we were growing up, teenagers.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
We had such a fun team to go for.
We did, and we did well, and we punched above our weight, and I've said that consistently on this podcast. We did as well as we possibly could, given the circumstances and the shitty Junction Oval change rooms that you boys had. So very fond memories, mate, for all the DeeBrief faithful, and a lot of people absolutely loved what you did for the footy club. You played with a lot of heart and soul and passion every single week. You faced a bit of adversity as well yourself and copped some awful injuries just while we're at it as well. And you came through it. So thank you very much. You've been incredibly generous with your time. I love what you're doing with your ruck coaching business. And mate, Kalani, there's only one decision to be made.
It's an easy decision.
Come on.
Well, hit me up this time next year, I guess. That's when decisions will start.
Oh, don't worry about it. You said, I think the decision gets made in April, so I reckon there'll be a podcast suggestion end
in
of
the
March.
diary right now.
Just a bit of a follow-up podcast in late March, maybe.
Absolutely.
And on that, I really love the Demons faithful. I saw that with Wowie, father-son. I've seen it with Kine and Brown. I see it with Ooze this year. I really love... The father-son is such a beautiful thing in the AFL. And I must say that, you're not the only one who gets messages about father-son. So really love the passion of the Melbourne Footy Club supporters. And I love when I'm always down in Melbourne. It's great. Love it.
Awesome work.
We love supporting you, mate. Thanks for your time and all the best with FirstUse, and I hope it goes well. It sounds like a ripper.
No, thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to give it a plug.
No worries.
We're on. We're back. Jeff White. How good was that, Marca?
He's a good man to give us his time like he did. And interesting to hear what he was doing, obviously, with FirstUse. Sounds good.
Yeah, well, it's more about Kalani.
Yeah, mate. If you don't coerce your son.
Coerce is the key word.
Yeah.
I like what the players are doing.
Well, I was just about to talk about that as well. And look, I expect nothing less.
They're planting seeds. It's good.
Texties.
Yep. No, it's very, very clever. Very good ploy by all the Melbourne players. It's exciting, and we're very appreciative of Jeff's time. That was amazing in so many respects, and just having a conversation about Max Gawn, the Herculean Max Gawn, he was unbelievable again on Saturday night. Before we talk about Carlton really quickly, and the teams are coming out imminently, I want to talk about you, Marca. So I want to talk about you on Saturday. So we're there at M48, as we are every single week with all the crew. And mysterious Tom Marcazzani rocks up out of nowhere. And you were on edge. So I reckon you were there for all of 10 or 15 minutes, and you were pacing around, and you left and you had to go and watch it on your own because it was all a little bit too much for you.
Yeah, it was. I just hate Geelong. There's that. There's the fact that I just want to beat them so bad, and that game was so important for us, for both teams. More important to us than to Geelong because they've banked wins, but just for that psychological edge.
Yep.
I just reckon we're a better team anyway.
Yeah.
And just the way that the game was panning out, like obviously the conditions were difficult for both teams, clearly in relation to like skills and execution, and it was just hard to kind of stomach. And yeah, I had people around me talking to me and stuff, and
Name names.
no, I couldn't handle it. I was just like, I just want to watch the game. Like I can't focus on anything else but just watching every single contest.
So you went punt road?
So then I went behind the goals.
Yeah.
Left the members and went to stand by myself, and I had an amazing last quarter. And
all the goals down that end.
I very rarely, I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I've given it to an opposition fans for the end of the game. It's it's not in my nature to do that.
Yeah, no, it's not. I can vouch for that.
But I gave it to Geelong fans. Yeah. Like it was just like
they
started leaving early. I was just like, it's a long train ride home. It is a long train ride home. And I was basically saying, I was using stronger language, but I was saying, get out of the MCG right now.
Yeah.
This is ours.
And
get out.
A lot of Melbourne supporters were actually doing that on Saturday.
Well, to those who were sitting behind the goals, you would have heard there's like a few Geelong like faithful who they have like these chants like Geelong, and they have like these little songs and stuff that they sing like Ollie Henry chants and all this. Like it's so lame. And as soon as you knew that we had them, we were all just turning into them and just absolutely giving it to these group of people. And they left early. They're good at leaving early. And I just let them know where the exit door was, just in case they were confused. And I let them know which direction the trains were because, they had a long journey home.
Melbourne supporters were up and about, weren't they, on Saturday? You could feel it.
Yeah.
Like we were giving it.
Oh, mate, it was like a zoo down that end when Caleb kicked that goal. That
Huge.
was big. And then obviously like the Fritsch goal was just
it was crazy.
Man. And going back to like talking about the conditions on the night, the air was almost thick with moisture.
Yeah.
There's no clouds around. It was just like, almost fog-like. So things like everything was just skidding off. And I know that dribble goals aren't typically like they're fun to watch, but everyone who has a footy always goes to the pocket of dribbles goals in. They're not terribly difficult.
No.
Dribble goals. But due to the conditions on the night, what Fritsch did in those circumstances and the fact that he had Jack Henry on his tail, and it was literally like in one motion he picked it up and kicked it, and he just had to kick it and weight it so perfectly that it would grab at the end and turn. It was a mental goal, man.
Yeah.
It was mental.
Did we not talk about him squaring the ball?
Mate, he loves goal. He has every right to now and forever.
But he had two out options.
Yeah.
10, 15 metres
and
straight in front. And it doesn't matter because he kicked the goal. It's irrelevant.
Kicked the goal on the wrong side. And let's talk about that game a little bit more. Mainly personnel. So I think we talked at length about Petty and how he had been traveling, and
Huge.
he was, he admitted himself that his form was down, and obviously he would have known that. It's not like he would have been thinking, "No, I'm doing the right thing."
Yeah.
And that last quarter, he was just ginormous. His hands down the line, it was massive,
Brilliant.
and the other player in that last quarter it was vintage stuff from him. It was Clayton Oliver, and he was another player that we kind of we spoke about where we need to start seeing more out of these two. And yeah, maybe we were being a bit too harsh on them in relation to the injuries they both caught respectively. Obviously, Petty not having a complete preseason, and Oliver, his greatest asset are his hands, and he took one of them away from him, and it was just so good to see those two players, and Langdon as well. I thought
Awesome.
he's starting to look like the Langdon that we know.
Awesome.
And with his sidekick on the other wing, Caleb,
Yeah.
a rising star nomination to him, and it was only a matter of time.
No, you're right. And we're looking good. I'm so glad you brought up Clary because I didn't feel like we gave him enough love on the Monday review. The last quarter was epic.
He was everywhere.
Yeah, and I often say this, are there many better sights as a Melbourne supporter in a last quarter when you know Clayton Oliver's just put himself into that beast mode?
Just the ground ball get and just the bouncing up, and there's usually someone right on his tail, and he has that ability to kind of jump up and get his hands up.
Yeah.
And dish out. That's Clary. To me, seeing that is that's Clary.
But it's those 50-50 contests that he wins. There's that one out on the Shane Warnstand side on the 50 where he bodies his opponent just before the ball gets into the area, and it gives him the ability to then extract the ball and get it moving. And it's so clever. It's so Clayton Oliver. And that last quarter for me signified that he's ready to start taking those steps forward. He's ready to start being the player that he was earlier in the season. Like we often reference the Bulldogs game from round 1, and then he gets the hand injury against Hawthorn. So he hasn't had a lot of scope to be able to do what he does best because of that injury. But that was just a little signal of intent about what we can potentially expect in the next few weeks. And if Clayton Oliver's up and running and he can tidy up a little bit of messiness in his game, he had the 7 turnovers, but if he can tidy up some of those things in his game moving forward and he can post up the ridiculous numbers that he did on the weekend, it's watch out for the comp.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the fact that we're not relying as much on Petrarca to get us over the line in those sorts of games. And, Petrarca's still going to bob up and do his thing as well.
Yeah.
The thing that I loved most about Petty, if I want to jump to Petty again, is that it's not like he got his confidence back or he started to look like he was dominating against a North Melbourne or a West Coast or whoever. He did it against a Geelong defence who are well established and are such a hard team to score against and to mark against. And just, we talk about it at length, our forward structure, and that was so pleasing to see. It's just like, okay, yep, this is the right decision. There's still so much work to go, and there's so much improvement to be done, but it was just that little bit of reassurance that, yep, he's our guy at the moment.
You could almost make a case, though, if he's taking 9 marks, 4 contested grabs, having 13 disposals, chase down tackles, even getting involved in all that defensive stuff, hitting scoreboard, kicking 1 or 2 every week. There's not much more you could ask of a centre half forward because he's traditionally playing the centre half forward role. He was high up on the wings. He was the out kick from D50. The other thing I really loved, and it was an amazing goal by Tyson Stengel, incredible goal, that one in the pocket.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at the footage, it's Petty and Rivdog harassing Stengel and trying to win the ball back or at least just put him off his kick. He finished it with aplomb. It was such an incredible goal. But to see Petty getting behind the ball, obviously the most important thing was the intervention, the spoil that led to Petrarca then kicking it into Fritsch, who created that miracle goal.
Yeah.
Off his beautiful left boot.
That
But
attempted the switch and he got across.
like those, I was saying it on the review show, like those defensive efforts were just as pleasing as him clunking.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't doing that in the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, purely because I don't think the tank was there. The tank must be coming.
Yeah, and that goes
and he's
back
filling
to
it up.
that goes back to our comment that we probably underestimated. And yeah, they talk at length, or players who come in and just start dominating. They always bring it back to, I just had an amazing preseason, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was so bloody good to see, and I don't know if Wiedering's going to play on him this week, but shit, if you're going to be bringing another performance like that, please do it against an opposition player like Wiedering, because he's in some serious form, and he and Walsh are, let's jump to the Carlton game now. They're my two worries.
Yeah, but Petty could do a job on him. He really could.
For sure. But that's what I'm saying. I'm like, go again.
Yeah.
Go again. Not expecting you to kick a bag or anything, but as long as you nullify Wiedering from
100%.
just taking so many contested, and Wiedering, he's a gun, man. He's in some serious form.
Yeah. He's the only thing holding them up defensively for me.
Yeah, they get McGovern back, who's he's no superstar. Shout out to Don Moore, actually, because I remember when he got drafted from Carlton, I was like, oh, he's a great player. Moore is like, nah.
You just put a line through him.
But he's
good.
He's important to their makeup.
True.
Down back. Young's whatever.
Young's a hack.
I like Marchbank.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Wiedering's the one.
Wiedering is the one. So a lot of chatter this week about
Sard's a big. I think
Sard's a big out.
They miss Sard.
Yeah, they're definitely a big out. Nullifying Wiedering is everything. In the same way that nullifying Jake Lever for Carlton will be one of their primary goals. It'll be interesting to see if Jack Martin comes in, because Jack Martin has done a role on Jake Lever. He's a very clever footballer. I actually rate him incredibly highly.
He had
Jack
a great
Martin.
year last year. It was the first year where he was actually consistent.
Yeah.
He's obviously always had the talent.
Yep.
Shit, they paid for him.
Yeah. Hugely underrated for me. Yes, he's always had the talent and the potential, but
he's never had a year like last year in terms of consistency. Like
No.
he's had these games where you're like, whoa.
I just think the big thing with him, just given his injury history, and the teams will come out any time now, just playing him in what will likely be a pretty red-hot game. Carlton are going to be absolutely desperate. So everyone's dragging their name through the mud. Are they the real deal? Pardon me. They've come off against two really good teams, two really good outfits. They've dropped points against Geelong, who are obviously, we saw it last week, just so clinical and so well drilled. They've dropped one to their fiercest rivals, Collingwood, who seem like they're getting their mojo back.
It's back.
Oh, yeah. And
you'd have to say that it's back.
And it's annoying that it's back, but it's back. But for Carlton, the desperation that they'll likely show tomorrow night, I think will be there. But equally,
Same with us.
Melbourne,
It's going to be...
we have a score to settle. So don't forget about the demons that we want to banish from the semi-final loss. Like, Melbourne internally should have the same amount of fire in the belly that Carlton have. So Carlton have the fire in the belly for obvious reasons. They're the ones that are getting whipped in the media along with the Bulldogs, but who gives a fuck about them? And then they've had the 2 losses, and then you parlay that into us having the 2 wins. We're 6-2, and it's like Melbourne should equally be just as fired up. To put things right, 9-17 last year, it was hogwash. They didn't deserve the victory, but they hung around enough, and fair play to them. They hung around enough, and I had a lot of Carlton friends who texted me the day after, and fair play to them. They weren't poking fun. They were just checking in and going, last night was crazy. I hope you're okay. So Jared Billett was one of those. There was a few boys. I think Sticker sent me a text as well. They just wanted to check in. I know how much it means to you. You're all right. They didn't dig the boots in because they all knew we stole a win.
Yeah.
But we've got a score to settle. And mentally, I'm still a little bit scarred by it.
That particular game, or the fact that we just bowed out in finals 2 years
Just
in a
that
row?
particular game. Just that particular game. The bowing out in straight sets in 2 consecutive years, like, it's very easy to understand. 2022, you're banged up, you're absolutely cooked.
See, I'm more
carrying
dark.
too many players.
I'm more dark on the Collingwood loss, the first qualifying final, than I am the Carlton by so much.
Why is that?
Because losing that meant that we would have had to have faced Brisbane eventually.
And you were thinking no flag. There's no chance.
Yeah.
So you think
And-
You think you're delaying the inevitable by losing to Collingwood week 1? It's like, well, you're out of the race now, Melbourne.
Yeah, I thought we were done.
Good way to look at it.
And just the fact that, obviously everything that happened with Brayshaw as well, and now what's come to light as well,
Dark.
given everything else, it's like that has just been, intensified.
Yep. That's totally fair.
But look, if you had vision of me leaving the ground, that semi-final, you would probably say I was angrier.
Or me.
Once again, shouts to John Moore. You know what we're talking about.
He's the only person that knows, I reckon. Well, anyway. Teams have come in.
They've come in.
Yeah, so have a guess. And this is interesting
So-
because we put a poll out. Put a poll out last night.
So Billings is out.
So the poll, I'm actually going to go to it. So
Billings is out.
This was ridiculous. So I
Billings
said
is out.
he's not.
Really?
I said who comes out for Jake Bowie. We've only made the one change, and that's
Bailey Laurie.
No surprise. So I went through and said, who's it going to be? And we got 422 votes. 23% said Little Bill. We got 403 votes for Wowie, which is 22%. Billings got the most votes, 661, 36%. Feel like this is a election rundown. And I said via Casey. Does he go via Casey? And yeah, it was a little bit shocking. 18%, so 330
You don't
votes.
put someone like Bowie via Casey, especially he hurt his shoulder. Like his legs are good. He's fit.
It's a crazy amount of people that voted, but not overwhelmingly. But who nudged it? Billings at 36, Wowie 22, Little Bill 23, and via Casey 18%. It's ended up being, drum roll, who do you think it is? It's one of them.
Well, it sounds like it's not Billings.
It's not Billings.
The way that your reaction is, I'm going to say it's Wowie.
It's not Wowie.
It's okay. It's Laurie.
It's Bailey Laurie. So that's the way we've decided to go, and that's what I actually wanted personally. It's easy to say that in hindsight, but that's what I wanted.
Okay.
Because I want Wowie to stay in the team. I think we're seeing a player evolving in front of our own eyes at the moment. I'm happy about what he's doing.
I think, and look, personally, I think Billings he's got to start performing if he wants to remain in this team.
True.
Especially with Salem and McAdam, who are looking like they're going to come back in at some point. But he does offer something different to what Laurie does, and I feel like Woden is doing stuff that's better than Laurie.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, and that's exactly where I've landed. I think Taj.
Is Taj the sub?
Taj probably just goes to sub.
Yeah.
Because if you look at I know people say this isn't indicative. You can take someone from the 18 and put them in the sub vest. So maybe it is Jack Billings who's been named on the team sheet in the 18. But Jake Bowie, Alex Neil-Bullen, Tom Sparrow, Cade Chandler, and Taj Woden, who's the last named player on the interchange bench, maybe there's something in that. They're the people that are on the pine in the team sheet. It could easily be Billings, and I just think it's simply between Billings and Woden who gets a sub vest.
I think I prefer to have Billings start, given the fact that he is such a confidence player.
Yep.
Someone who I work with, who sits opposite me, her son played juniors all with Billings and like best family friends with Billings. And she emphasised that exact fact to me, that he's such a confidence player, and I think lacks a bit of confidence, and maybe being touted as being such a great talent, and rightly or wrongly people have said that he may not have met those expectations that people had on him. So if you start him off, then it's like that builds up over the course of a game of pressure, where Wowie is still this kind of bright-eyed younger player where it's like, just ready when you need me, coach.
Yeah.
And that's how I'd play it.
I've actually liked what he's done. I think he's been tidy. I think he's been effective. He hasn't looked out of place, which is what I always think about when new kids come into a team. And the greatest example of that is Blake House. Blake House, you're just part of the furniture now,
Yeah,
mate.
it's crazy.
Like, you're in our back six.
Turner.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't mind having this kind of like 3-prong-ish, tally-ish forward thing going on. And like you could tell that he was working hard against Geelong. Like he didn't get a lot of reward for effort.
Did a bit on Stewart. I watched at times.
Yeah, but I think it
was good.
And so that says to me that maybe he could have some kind of role on a Wiedering.
A Wiedering. Probably.
I did like the way that he was working. Like it just wasn't really falling his way, and that's fine.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm fine with him remaining in the team at the moment. But we do have Mick Adam in the wings, and I would imagine that he would probably come out for Mick Adam if we were making that call. But
means we're smaller, so you've got to be more reliant on Petty and Roo to be the tall timber.
Yeah.
That's
and
all.
I guess it's a horses for courses, like depending on who we play and that sort of thing. I'd imagine that Brown's going to come in again at some point. These are great problems to have, right?
So good.
We have depth, and it's awesome. We have people who are competing for spots, and that's what you need to be a great football team.
Carlton,
and to go deep.
Carlton got some good changes. They'd be happy if they.
So they're going. Is Martin playing?
Yeah, Martin's playing.
Yep.
They've got Brody Kemp, Mitch McGovern, Ollie Hollins, and Jack Martin all in.
Yep.
Lewis Young's out.
Omitted
Omitted. Yep. Carlton fans would be pleased about that. Zach Williams injured, so he goes out.
What did he do? I mean,
I don't know.
He's
lazy.
He's so poor at defending.
He's lazy.
He's good on the run, and he looks flash, but he can't defend.
Fantasia omitted as well, and David Cunningham has been omitted. So Martin, if he's absolutely cherry ripe, he's good to go. It's a problem for us. Ollie Hollins, yeah, he can play footy. Mitch McGovern, yeah. Brody Kemp, yeah. But they'd be pleased with those ins. Like they're good ins.
Yeah.
I think for me this game purely comes down to. It's too easy to say it comes down to the midfield every single week.
I think it's around the whole. It's every single content.
Yeah,
it's like who can grit it out again.
Yeah, but it's not like the thing about the midfield for me is Chero, Hewitt, Cripps, the top liners, Track, Viney, Oliver. We saw some great signs from Vines and Oliver last week. It's too easy to just sit there and go, it's whoever comes out on top in the midfield.
Pidnett's been in good form as well.
Yeah, true. It's not that for me. For me, it's as simple as this. Defensively, we've been incredible. Sound. Best defensive team in the comp. Back to that 2021, find a way through us. And it's difficult. Teams are only posting up an average of 66 points against us every week.
Coming up against the inform Mackay, who historically has played well against us, bar last year. He had a bit of a down year last year, but that was last year. He's having an awesome season, and he's their inform forward. And Kerno's still doing Kerno shit.
True. But it's defense. It's defense versus defense for me. Like,
yeah. Our defense is far superior.
It's much better. So I feel, and this could obviously come back and bite me on the ass, like a lot of things do, except for our predictions last week, which we got spot on.
Yeah, that was pretty spot on
for the first time
ever.
Yeah, seriously. But Melbourne are just so mature, so experienced, so well drilled behind the ball at the moment. so disciplined. You can mount a case for Carlton. They're a little bit confused. Players don't know when to zone off. Players don't know when to hand over with their opposition players. Players are getting far too caught up the ground.
It also seems like a little bit worrying that they're making that many changes and to the personnel that, that's great for us. Yes, they're bringing in these players that have been good for them in the past, but is that 4 changes?
4 changes.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think about cohesion a lot. I think about
absolutely. That's that's exactly what my point is that you're making 4 changes to a side after you've come off a loss as well. That's never a great sign.
Well, if you look at it defensively, Kemp and McGovern for Young and Williams, I think about Melbourne. Howes, May, Rivers, McPhee, Lever, McDonald in that back half. We've been settled for weeks.
Yeah.
And we've been in
backline
periods.
has been settled for years.
Yeah.
I mean, we took May out of there, against a Port, and they got the job done. You know what I mean? Like, our backline is insane, man.
I'm feeling good. Like, and Ed Langdon's in form. Cozzy was fantastic last week. Petty was great last week. Oliver showed signs of being back to his brilliant best. Tom McDonald was phenomenal on Jezza.
Yeah.
Lever and May just did as they pleased.
So does T-Mac go to Mackay?
I think so. I back him in. I back him to take anyone. If you
May to go on Charlie like he did.
Sure.
Yeah.
If you're Tom McDonald and you've just beaten Jezza, and yes, Jezza missed the 2 sodas, but it wasn't just about that.
No. I mean, but people talk so much whack about those 2 misses. Like, for me, we had them at that point anyway.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I was like, if they kick a goal here, I was just so confident that we were still just going to ice that game and just win it. Like, we controlled that last quarter better than they did.
And he's Jeremy Cameron. He's going to get looks. And some of the field kicks from Cameron were phenomenal.
Oh.
Crazy.
That one to close.
It was crazy.
It was kick of the year.
It was the best kick on the night.
It was fucked.
I remember when he did
Close
that.
even had to he had to put his hand up and go, that was crazy.
It was mental. It was good to see in the flesh. Sometimes you got to tip your hat in the same way that I did before with Stengel's goal. I thought that was kind of swept under the carpet a little bit. I thought his goal was better than Fritsch's.
Nah.
Moving away from the ball, 2 players harassing you, and then kicking it on your left instep, your non-preferred foot, coming away from goal, and finding a way to get it through the big sticks.
Yeah, it was great.
No, fritters. So for some of those reasons I've just explained, like, I'm confident that maybe it's as simple as this as we wrap up and we do predictions again and get them wildly wrong this week. They're just getting us, I think, at a bad time. And the 5-day break thing that I brought up on the review show, I'm actually going to revise that. I don't think it's a worry because of this. Carlton are playing their 4th game in 19 days tomorrow night. Melbourne are playing their 4th game in 28 days tomorrow night. So the whole fitness thing around how much rest you've had, we're not banged up. We do look relatively fresh.
And
I believe.
And look, that could be another reason as to why they're bringing 4 more players in.
Yes, and I think we can attack tomorrow night knowing that we don't have all the bumps and bruises that we had in previous weeks after the Brisbane game. Like, we desperately needed a rest. It was so obvious. Disco Turner spoke to me about that at trivia night the other week. He was
you could see it.
We were cooked.
We were running in concrete.
They were cooked. So I don't think that'll play into it, having thought about it a little bit more. So we come to predictions, which is big. And can we get it right this week? So what do you reckon? Do you want me to go first, or
I'm happy to go.
Lead the way. 2-2. I want 2-2. I want to clip up another video and blow the trumpet.
I just think that we're playing with a bout of confidence at the moment, as we've just said, and for some reason we seem to convert better when we kick straight, and I can't see us kicking the same score like we did in that semi-final. And with that being said, our personnel is just better up the ground, Rue and Petty, they're going to come. they're going to have their looks as well. But
They'll have a crack.
our back line is the soundest in the game, and I feel like it will be a bit of a strangle. But
Try the score again.
yeah, no, I reckon we're going to kick the last 3 to 4 goals. I'll say we'll win by 19 points. We'll be 95. Take away 19 from 95. I'm not a maths teacher. 70, yeah.
76.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to go for.
All right, cool. We've done it. Big predico.
Best on ground, sorry.
Yeah, best on ground. Who have you got?
I think Track will announce himself again.
Yep.
He's due for a real big game.
Sure.
He's just not to say he hasn't been playing. That's not to say he has been playing poorly, but we know the level of what Track can get to and can be. And I just think he's gonna have a massive game. And a special little comment to Mr. Chin Chandler. I think he'll have a big game as well in his own way. That's not to say he's gonna have 20 touches and 5. In his own way, he's gonna have some big moments.
So you can do like the obvious.
We have about 5 players, and it's hard to steer away from who's
True.
going to be the best player.
The obvious and the underrated bog.
Yeah,
We'll go with that.
so Track and Chin.
Nice. I have a feeling.
You're doing an adsy.
I have a genuine feeling
Okay.
that we might punish.
Oh, I would love that so much.
So I had a great conversation with a good mate who listens to the show. Shout out to Adrian. Great name, by the way.
You're looking in the mirror where
And he said that he gets frustrated that we're always stuck in arm wrestles. And Goody speaks about it in his press conference. He pointed that out to me. Goody often says it. He's right. Goody often goes, we're in another arm wrestle. Don't be in an arm wrestle. Melbourne had an opportunity end of the third quarter or the latter stages of the third quarter against Geelong. Get yourself out to a 3, 4, 5 goal lead at 3/4 time.
Yeah, you'd love a party time.
We don't do it enough.
No.
We keep teams in the game, good teams, because we do punish the lower teams. And we've done that this season. Bulldogs, Hawthorn, Richmond, all fait accomplis. We're obviously going to run over the top of those teams because there's too much class in this Melbourne outfit. I want a game where we punish a good team. And Carlton are a good team. And Carlton could become a great team in years to come. Who knows? But right now, they're not a good team, in my opinion. Defensively, they are so off. So I'm feeling a little bit of punish tomorrow night.
How many?
I'm thinking we're going to win by 47 points.
Mate.
No, I'm going there.
No, go there. I love it.
And typically I try to be quite reserved with these predictions.
Yep. I would attest to that.
And I normally go in the vicinity of less than 30. Even when we play Hawthorn and Richmond, I'm like, And typically when we're playing a really good team, I go anywhere in the vicinity of under 10 points, like I did last week. But I've just got a weird feeling that we're ready to just put the foot on the throat and be clinical and take our chances. And with that being said, I reckon Cozzy will kick 4 or 5.
Okay.
He'll keep his elbows in. He'll be a good boy tomorrow night against
boy.
Carlton. And my underrated player for the night, I believe, will just be the return of Jake Bowie.
Yeah, bow.
And everyone just sitting there marveling at his kicking skills and what he does to take that kick into the corridor, like we've seen with Salem over the journey, and just completely and
He's
utterly...
still in the journey.
Yeah, he's in the journey. And just completely and utterly make those Carlton defenders redundant. So I got a good feeling, a really good feeling about tomorrow night. I could have absolute egg on my face. That's for certain.
This is why we do predictions. We don't know. We give our thoughts.
But I'm going hard.
Mate, I loved it. And
just a bit of punish, Melbourne. Can we do it? Are we
how
capable?
good would that feel? And then going into the next few weeks, who we have. To be 7-2.
Yeah.
And then to put Carlton. What would that put them? Are they on 5 or 6 wins?
Well, they would be. Well, they're 5. So yeah, they would be 5 and 5. 5-5.
5-4.
5-4.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
5-4. Yeah. It'd be
To
huge.
put them 5-4 would be.
And they've got Sydney next week in Sydney.
And then they probably win that.
Potentially.
I'm back in Freo, by the way, this week.
Against Sydney?
Yeah.
That's big. That's really big.
And I'm tipping Essendon as well.
Are you? Oof. I haven't really thought about it much yet, but I'm one behind the leader at work, and it's killing me.
Freo, tip Freo.
Tip Freo?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've got it in me to tip Essendon.
Fair. So tip Freo.
Yeah, I might tip Freo then.
I'm just not sold on Sydney still. I know. I'm not. I look at their forward line.
I'm the same.
I look at their back line.
I'm the same.
They've got they've got some freaks. Absolute freak. Blakey.
Yeah.
Goulden.
I'm not sold on them.
Warner. But I'm sorry.
No, I'm not sold on them. I'm not sold
I would
on them.
love to see them at the G.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Love to see them at the G.
Bit of punish. Tomorrow night, Melbourne. Please. Do it. Punish.
Party time. Last quarter. I'll be there.
It would be amazing to see. So we'll leave it at that. Be safe tomorrow night.
I will.
To everyone.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Because they're crazy.
It's gonna be emotional.
They're crazy. It'll be 65, 70K in there,
Just
I reckon.
can't let them kick like the first three or something.
Nah, don't give them a wave of confidence. And I'm a big believer of this. Make the first quarter ugly. Make it super ugly.
Yeah.
Don't give them any impetus whatsoever. If it's another half time where it's 25-25, the last couple of games have been so poor in the first half in some respects, scoreboard reflective of that. I don't care. Do that and then pull away in the third. But it's going to be good, and I want that redemption. We need this win. We want this win. Geelong was big.
Yeah.
And it felt fantastic.
Go again.
But this would be therapeutic, my favourite word on this podcast. We'll leave it there. Derek, thank you.
As always, thanks, Derek.
You've been superb. And Jeff White was superb tonight. So we thank him dearly. And Jeff, just get your boy Kalani. Just get him to the club.
Get into
please.
the Dees.
Let's eat this Pringle.
On that note, go Dees.